Sig Sauer 516 Patrol. Talk about a premium gun. I originally did an upload on this gun not that long ago. I wasn't happy with the quality, wasn't happy with the video. You know how it is. You get somebody that's just a little too excited about a new toy and they just got to show it off. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a proper video about this gun, and I'm going to go really into detail with the gun. I'm going to be showing up closes, I'm going to show the field strip, I'm going to show the takedown, I'm going to show you the gas system, and just show you the parts and accessories of the SIG 516. I'll also be showing you what comes in the box. I want this video to be very detailed about the gun. I want to make a very in-depth, detailed video about this gun. So, getting it started, the model you see here is the SIG 516 Patrol FDE model with a 16-inch barrel. So, going over the rifle, really quick, I want to touch on the origins of the SIG 516. It was primarily designed by a group of engineers, one of whom was named Robert Hurt. Robert Hurt was one of the main engineers of the original H&K series, so the H&K M4 and the H&K M416. He was one of the primary engineers on that product line. Now, once the 416 project was completed and actually saw adoption in military use, Robert moved over to Sig Sauer. Now, the reason he went over to SIG is because SIG at the time was also in the market to start building a gas piston gun and start experimenting with getting away from the tried and true direct impingement. So what he did was he took lessons learned from the 416 project. Now, the 416 itself by no means is a bad gun. It's one of the only proven external piston guns. Now, moving on, when he joined the Sig Sauer team, he went in wanting to create a piston rifle as a direct competition, but also as an improvement over the H&K 416. And I feel they actually did a very good job at that. Can this gun touch the reputation of the H&K 416? Not a chance. Sorry, cold hard reality. The 416 is a battle-proven, ready-to-go gun. While the 516 is an excellent proven gun, it's not quite to the level of the 416. But there was two main design improvements that Robert Hurt and the other team of engineers at SIG improved over the H&K 416. One was its modularity. The 416, while it's an excellent, proven, excellent gun, I can't say enough good things about the 416, it had one fatal flaw, at least which the design team saw, and that was proprietary parts. So what I mean by proprietary parts is everything on the 416, minus the stock and certain other parts, but everything internally on the 416 was proprietary. The bolt carrier, the gas system, even the firing pin was all proprietary to H&K. These aren't parts that you can go out and get somewhere else. Now, for H&K, that's not a bad idea because anybody who adopts that gun, specifically now the French Army, they have to go to H&K for these proprietary parts. SIG, however, went a different route. Aside from the actual physical bolt carrier itself, which I will show later in this video, and the gas system, everything else is standard military spec equipment. The firing pin, the entire lower receiver, the barrel, the stock, even the actual bolt head itself is just a standard M4 style bolt. So when you're getting into aftermarket parts for this, or for example, let's say you suffer a parts breakage, you can go just about anywhere for most of the standard parts. Like I said, aside from the bolt carrier and gas system, those are really the only proprietary parts of this rifle. Second part was the actual gas system itself, which they updated. Now, the earlier generations of the H&K 416, when firing, they blew the gases forward, out away from the gun, which in theory is a good idea, but the problem is during night shooting, it looked like the gun was shooting a flamethrower. Now, I saw pictures and videos of it, and I'm not going to lie, it looked pretty cool, but you just see this massive just ball of fire. And during night shooting, that's not that good because, for starters, it messes with your night vision. It'll mess with any night optics you have. And you're basically saying, hey, motherfucker enemy, here we are. So, designs, now, at least to my knowledge, that's all been changed now. During the second generation, I guess you could say, of the 416 project. But the 516 sought to change that. Now, Mr. Hurt has since gone on to another company, I believe it's FN, don't quote me on that, to pursue changes to another rifle that have improvements over the SIG 516. But that's just a quick touch on the history. So now I'm going to take the camera and I'm going to give you a close-up. I'm going to show you everything that comes in the box. Then I'm going to give you a close-up of the actual rifle itself, and then we're going to do a field strip and show you how the gun takes apart. So stay tuned. So for the 516, what you get in the box is the next features of it. So, coming with the rifle, it does not come with a red dot and it does not come with the angle forward grip. Aside from that, everything else you see comes factory spec on the rifle. So, you've got the stock. It comes with a single point sling. Generally speaking, the sling is black. I took the black one, put it on my Tavor, and I used the tan one for this rifle. You get your grip. You get one 30-round magazine. In Canada's case, it's 5. The rifle, or most of the magazines, especially in the United States, come with Magpul magazines. In Canada, we get, let's see if I can focus on this. It's D&H. I guess there was a licensing issue or something going on with Magpul, where they wouldn't ship Magpul magazines with the rifle to Canada. I don't know what the exact reasoning is for that, but whatever works, right? Mind you, D&H is a fine magazine. I've never had issues with these mags. Up front, the gun also, I'm trying to work with the light here, comes with these rail covers. It comes with 3, so it just allows you to cover the rifle up. I found them to be very heat resistant. While I was shooting this rifle, I usually rest my hand right up on here, or my fingers, some of my fingers. I wasn't suffering any issue of the heat. Aside from that, you also get flip-up sights, which I'll focus on more in a minute here. They resemble Troy battle sights. Very similar to the H&K 416 style. I would assume Troy makes them, they're just not branded as such. Aside from that, you get the barrel, which is a 1/2x28. It's standard 1/2x28 thread. Again, I'm going to get into this in a bit. I'm just kind of showing you what comes in the box. So let's get the rifle out of the way and I'll show you what else. So in the box, aside from the rifle, obviously, in the sling you get yourself a 30-round magazine. Depending on where you are, it kind of depends on the type of magazine you get. Sometimes you get these guys, sometimes you get Lancer magazines, sometimes you get Magpul. It really depends. So you get your manual, service manual. Generally speaking, I don't read these. However, never owning a piston gun before, I wasn't 100% sure how to take the gas system apart and properly clean the gun. The manual is very detailed about that. This is actually a really excellent manual. Going over. You also get a cleaning kit. So it comes in this little carrying case. It's Velcro on 2 sides. There's 2 different compartments. So in it, you get a set of Allen keys. You get some bore patches. You get your cleaning rod, which is actually a very high quality cleaning rod. You get your brushes, so it gives you a bore brush and a chamber brush. And you get a brass brush itself for scrubbing away any carbon, especially like off the piston. But that's pretty well everything you get in the box. Now, when it comes to the actual box itself, a lot of people complain for the price of the rifle. You'd expect to get a better box. You'd expect to get a case. I can kind of understand that, but at the same time, I'm not too concerned about a box. Generally speaking, this is what I do with a box. Okay, now let's get into the nitty-gritty detailed parts of this rifle. Sorry, I'm trying to work with the light here. I apologize for the shaky camera. So, it comes with a B5 tactical stock. I don't know exactly who makes this stock. I'm going to probably guess it's Magpul, but who knows. And it has an excellent angled cheek weld. Very, very comfortable cheek weld. Lines up perfectly with the red dots you have on the rifle. Standard 6-position. The buffer tube is mil-spec. So you have a 6-position mil-spec buffer tube in stock. Working our way forward, you have QD sling points on both sides of the rifle. At the back, you also have them on the 2 rail segments on each side. The safety itself is an ambidextrous safety. It is on both sides of the rifle. Very positive, very stiff safety. When we get into field strip, I'm going to show you a bit of receiver tensioning device, but we're not quite there yet. The grip itself is a Sig Sauer branded grip. It is a very comfortable grip. It is kind of beefy. I'm going to flip the rifle around here. I'm going to show you it in my hand. So when you're holding the rifle up high, I wear a medium-sized glove, so you can see how big this grip actually is in my hand. This is usually how I'm holding it. You see how big that is? Contrary to popular belief, it's actually extremely comfortable. But it seems big. Here's your safety on the other side. It's primarily set up for right-handed shooters, the gun is. The safety's a lot bigger on the right side than it is the left, because when it's down and you're holding the rifle in your right hand, your hand just barely misses the safety, which is a nice thing because you don't want that digging into your hand while shooting. Continuing our way forward on the rifle, the upper and lower receiver are forged upper and lower receivers. They are made out of T7075 aluminum, that's Type 6 or Type 3 anodized, I believe. And on this specific model, the gun is Cerakoted, so it's got a Cerakote flat dark earth finish, as you can clearly see. The Troy sight, or the sights I said they're Troy style. They definitely resemble battle sights with the open front. The charging handle is a right side only charging handle, standard A2 style, which is a little strange to me because I was under the impression that it came with an ambi slide style or charging handle, but oh well. The castle nut is properly staked. I'm going to try and see if I can hold the camera steady and focus this a bit better. It is a properly staked castle nut. Standard forward assist. Working our way forward, your magazine release is an ambidextrous magazine release. It's on both sides of the rifle, right below the side stop. This rifle is very easy to be handled by left or right-handed shooters. They both can use it. It's not a big deal. The bolt release, however, is on the left side only. However, unlike a lot of rifles, Colt, Smith & Wessons, all the hundreds of brands out there, a lot of them don't have this factory. What this is it's an extended slide stop. So rather than just having a little nubby that's usually just right like that, you have this whole piece to put your hand on to lock the bolt back if you so choose. So when you're ready to lock the gun open, you can just push down right here and hold the gun open. It's excellent feature. A lot of these features also come factory on the SIG M400 series of rifles, which a lot of manufacturers would include, especially features like this, would call them, a step up or an aftermarket part. These all come right out of the factory from SIG, which is fantastic. Continuing our way forward, this is an anodized 7075 aluminum forend. It is a quad rail, standard 1930 style or 1913 style Picatinny rail. Will accept a variety of optics, lights, flashlights, accessories, all that. The rail itself, I'll see if I can show it, is forged right into the actual upper receiver itself. It just helps keep everything in proper alignment, which is a good idea. The top rail itself, also all the way through, I don't think that camera's going to focus very well. It is labeled like T2, T4, T6. Your rail segments, it just helps you remember where you mount any sort of optic you have on the rifle. Continuing our way forward, like I said, the barrel is a 16-inch phosphate coated. The muzzle is 1/2 x 28 threaded with a standard A2 flash hider. So any sort of 5.56, 223 muzzle threaded device will fit on this. The barrel is an M4 style cut, is a mil spec with M4 cuts. The rifling is standard 1-in-7 twist. The barrel, I incorrectly assumed in my previous video, was nitride treated. It is actually chrome lined. It's a good high quality barrel. It's cold hammer forged. You know SIG knows what they're doing. Right here is your gas system. So let's pick the rifle up. Trying to work with the light. Now you can kind of see the little dots, dot, dot, dot. The rifle has 4 settings on its gas system. So in order to change the gas system, there's a little D10 right here. You push that in, and you can use the tip of a bullet, or if you're somewhat strong, you just use your fingers and you can twist this. It has 4 settings, so it has suppressed, standard, adverse, and off. So off is basically there's no gas, so the gun won't cycle. Suppressed is where, obviously, if you're running the gun suppressed. Standard, obviously, you're just running standard ammunition. And adverse, so if the gun is extremely dirty or you're in kind of a hostile environment, hostile towards the rifle, you can click it to adverse. Now, you want to be careful with the adverse setting because it overgasses the rifle. And if you leave it on adverse for too long, you can potentially beat your rifle up and cause the gun to wear out substantially faster. Now let's get into accuracy. Now, talking about accuracy of the rifle, in my opinion, it is about what you'd expect from a military-style rifle with a 16-inch barrel. I fired a variety of different type of ammunitions that I could get my hands on short notice. But this is the target itself. So right in the middle here, you see these hits. This is me just sighting the rifle in with the red dot, or the optic I have on it. This is me just kind of working it over. But getting it started, the first ammunition I used was this stuff here, the Federal American Eagle. XM855. This is 62 grain FMJ, green tip. And that's this batch right here. So the gun is sitting right around 2.5 MOA. It's about what you'd expect for a rifle of this style and barrel length. It's not... I'm sure, with proper reloads and a proper shooter, you might be able to get that down to 1.5, but right now what I'm seeing out of this rifle is what I would expect with military ball ammunition. Working our way over to the other side of the target, this is 55 grain XM193. The rifle actually performed really well with this. I was able to get it right at around just barely over 1.5 MOA, which was actually kind of surprising to me with this type of ammunition. But I'm not complaining. Now, interestingly enough, when I started using 223 type ammunition, the groups opened up rather substantially. So down in the bottom right here, this is Remington 223 55 grain FMJs. This ammunition right here. I was surprised by how poorly this did. Continuing on, right here is Hornady's black ammunition. This is an ammunition I've been very fond of as of late. And it did even worse than the Remington. Now, I would bet money and says a lot of this is probably me as the shooter. I'm not going to rule that out, but I was still fairly surprised. Over here is Aguila or Aguila, whatever the hell it's called. This is the stuff made in Mexico. Aguila 223. 55 grain 223 FMJ. And that's the grouping I got with it. Now, the ammunition in general, I was surprised about the fact it seemed to run better with military style or like military spec like 5.56 ammo than it did with 223, I guess, plinking ammo kind of thing. Even with the Hornady match, I was still fairly surprised. I expected better. That being said, when it comes to reliability, it cycled all of this ammunition just fine. I've heard cases where where SIG 516s prefer the hotter ammunition, like the 5.56. I ran all different types of 223. I also ran some, I don't have the box, but I ran some 77 grain match, and it cycled everything just fine. I didn't have to adjust the gas setting. The gun ran everything flawless, so I didn't fire steel case, so I can't comment on that. But reliability-wise, the gun's been 100%. It has 1,050 rounds through it in total, of mostly just this green tip and XM193. And the gun has suffered one malfunction, which was a failure to feed. Aside from that, it's been fine. So reliability-wise, I would call the gun fine. Let's get into the takedown and field strip of the rifle, shall we? For field stripping the rifle, it's if you know anything about AR-15s, you're going to be right at home with this rifle. So to take the gun apart, you have your two detent pins. So you have one here and one up front under my hand here. These will separate the upper and lower together. Generally speaking, you want to use the tip of a bullet to take them apart. But before anything, always make sure the gun is unloaded. Now, to take the gun apart, the bolt has to be forward. I actually had a question about that. Why does the bolt have to be forward? And that's actually a good question for newbies. When the bolt is back, the bolt carrier itself is actually sitting right here inside the stock itself. And when the gun separates and breaks in half, you can't do that because the bolt is sitting inside of the tube. And you can't take the gun apart. So the bolt has to be forward. The hammer can be cocked or dry fired. Generally speaking, you want to leave it cocked. It just takes a little bit of pressure off. So to field strip the rifle, we'll push the pins out. Generally, you want to use the tip of a bullet or something to help you. Push it out. And this will take the gun apart. And you do the same thing with the upper if you want to go that far. You don't actually have to separate the upper and lower. It just makes it a little bit easier for taking the gun apart and cleaning if you so choose. Not a big deal though. So I'm going to focus on the lower for a second because there's a part I want to show you guys. And girls, because apparently there are women that actually watch these videos. So again, this is the inside of your lower. Standard mag well, all your usual AR-15 parts. Has an H buffer. Here's your hammer. So right in here, you see that little tab there? That little nubby? That is the receiver tensioning device. That's a very, very strong detent and spring. What that does is that actually puts pressure upward on the receiver. So the gun itself, between the upper and lower, has zero wobble. If you look at guns like Colt is a good example, the receiver, you can actually take the upper and lower receiver and you can shake them and they will actually move just a little bit. That little piece basically stops that. The hammer is a standard. It's actually, interestingly enough, the hammer is a Colt style hammer. I believe it might actually even be made by Colt. You can tell just by the way the cut is off the top. They use that basically to clear an auto sear if you have a select fire gun, which obviously this is not. The trigger is fine. It is heavy. It's a mil-spec trigger. It idles right at about 7 pounds. It's not bad. I've heard people complain that it's mushy, it's too heavy. With a military-style rifle, at least for me personally, I could care less. Now the upper, this is where things are going to get a little bit different. You'll be familiar with the bolt carrier, so that's what I'm going to take out first. Bolt carrier is going to look fairly familiar. Somewhat reminiscent of an AR-15 bolt carrier, minus several slight differences. One is you obviously have no gas ports, and there's no gas tube. So when the firearm cycles, the piston itself actually strikes the top of this and causes the bolt to cycle. That's how the gun functions, and it's a cleaner and more reliable system, they say. I respectfully disagree with it being cleaner. I mean, I took this gun apart after 1,000 rounds and cleaned it, and my God, was it dirty. The bolt carrier, everything was actually really dirty. I was surprised. But that's how it works. So as you can see, it's actually milled right into the actual bolt itself. That way you don't have to suffer any issues of the gas key coming loose, because it's actually made right into it. Field strip. We're going to keep her going here. What did I do with my little bullet? I lost it. So we're going to use another one. You'll take out your firing pin retaining pin. It's basically just a cotter pin. Drop the firing pin. So as I said, it's a standard, son of a bitch. It's a standard AR-15 style firing pin. There's nothing fancy about this. It's an AR-15 firing pin. Any one will work. You'll rotate your cam pin, lift it straight out, and out comes the bolt. So like I said, the bolt, again, is identical to an AR-15 bolt. So any standard AR bolt, as long as it's mil-spec, as far as I'm aware, will work with this rifle. Now you see this actually has gas rings. Interestingly enough, this gun actually doesn't need these gas rings. They're specifically for if the gun, or for direct impingement rifles, which are using gas to cycle the bolt. So you'll have gases come down from the tube, and they'll actually push against this, and that's what causes the bolt to cycle. That's why you'll see, usually with DI guns, you'll see a massive amount of carbon buildup right around in this area. That's what causes the gun to cycle, and hence why the direct impingement rifle is frowned upon in certain communities, because as the saying goes, it shits where it eats. To take the gas system apart, I'm gonna have to get on the other side of the camera here. I hope it's gonna pick this up okay. So you'll push that detent like I said before, and you'll rotate the gas regulator all the way around till it's literally upside down. It rotates to the right if you're looking down the barrel, or looking like in the same direction as the barrel, and then you simply just pull straight out. And here is your gas piston. So this is the part right here that strikes the face of the bolt carrier. Not the face of the bolt carrier, sorry, but the part I showed you earlier. Where the hell is that bolt carrier? Strikes this part right here. So this is what happens, is it strikes that right there. Gives a nice little love tap and causes the bolt to cycle. So this is the spring I was talking about on the gas system. It's a short stroke gas piston. Lubrication points, just a fun fact, according to SIG's manual, this part right here has to be lubricated and the spring area has to be lubricated. This whole area here stays dry. Now to separate the gas regulator from the piston, just pull. And you can see it is dirty. And this is after the gun's been cleaned. You'll see these gas rings here right on the front. Those are what create a seal between the gas regulator and the piston itself. This is what allows the pressure to build up to cycle the rifle. You do not lubricate this area. Do not lubricate that area. Your gun will fail very quickly because you're going to build up carbon and crap very quickly inside the rifle. And then you can see the holes from the gas regulator. So you see you got your adverse, your standard, your suppressed, and your off. But that's the gas regulator. Reassembly is the exact opposite of what I just showed you. I'm not going to go through that part just for the sake of time because this video is probably starting to drag on. But that's the rifle itself. Now let's reassemble it here. So now that the rifle's almost fully reassembled, I want to show you how that detent system works. So you see how the receiver is not touching down. If I pinch it, just watch. See how it tries to bounce back? That's the tensioning pin pushing up on the upper receiver. It's pushing right on the bottom of your pin lock. So you actually have to hold it down and you'll push your pin through, and it is stiff. And that's the point, is you want it to be stiff because it creates zero play between the upper and lower receiver. Now, looking at some final thoughts with this rifle, people are going to ask, for starters, price range. So let's look at the price range. Not a cheap rifle. $2,400 Canadian. You can do the conversion to US dollars if you so choose for those of you who live in the States, but that's expensive. That is very expensive rifle. So the question will come down to it, is it worth the money? Is this gun truly worth, $2,500? Well, let's answer that right now. So when you're looking at the 5.16, the question is the rifle truly worth the money? And that's not an easy question to answer because there's many factors playing into the cost of such of a rifle like this. You are getting the reliability and excellence of a Sig Sauer product, that's for sure. You're also getting the reliability and cleanliness of a piston system. Now, a piston system by no means is clean. It just simply directs the gases and dirt somewhere else. So that's something to understand. Guns like this are not guns that you can just run and never clean. You do have to clean them. That being said, they're a little less finicky about that. Now, touching on price-wise, it's an expensive gun. Like this, like $2,500, and that's without any extra magazines, ammunition, optics. It gets expensive very quickly. So when you look at things like, is it truly worth it? Well, you need to look at several factors. One is obviously, can you afford it? Number two is quality. You say what you want about SIG, especially with the whole P320 fiasco. Sig Sauer produces excellent quality firearms. They're one of the top names in the business. You can't really argue that, especially if you look at guns like the P226, for example. Now, the rifle itself, to me personally, I think is worth every penny. After having shot this rifle, it is so smooth. It's so reliable. It's a very accurate, ergonomic, great gun to shoot. Now, when you're shooting it, I do have one gripe, and that's the weight. The gun unloaded is 7.9 pounds. It's not light. Compared to something like a Tavor, yeah, it's still pretty light. But when you're shooting this rifle, and you're firing, you're having a good time, there's two main gripes that I have. One is the gun is extremely front heavy. Very front heavy. Up front here is mainly because of the piston system, and again, you have a heavier barrel. You also have an aluminum rail, not a standard like Magpul forend. So it's heavy, and holding it shouldered for an extended period of time, it fatigues you very quickly. Like I can feel my left arm already getting a little tense. So that's one thing to understand. The other is heat. Now, rather than when you're shooting a gun, it gets hot. The heat has to go somewhere. And most of the time, with a direct impingement rifle, the heat is on the barrel, and it's on the bolt carrier itself. With the SIG, all the heat is right here. The barrel and your gas system, the piston, it's all right there. All the heat from the rifle is right there, and it's right on your gas block right up front here. So it gets warm. So when you're shooting it, someone like myself, generally speaking, if I'm using an AFG, I'm shooting and I'm holding the rifle just like this. So my thumb is riding over top of one of the main vents. And when I did a 300 round kind of little miniature test to this rifle, I was feeling it. I was feeling the heat. It wasn't to the point where it was burning me, but it wasn't comfortable. It was warm. Now these rubber handguards or rail guards do an excellent job of actually mitigating heat. I was very surprised about that, but it is noticeable. It is a noticeable heat. So these are things to consider. So when people ask, people always ask, would you buy the rifle? Well, obviously I did. Would I recommend it to others? And that's a yes and a no. I would say yes. If you're looking for a quality premium gun, this 5.16 is definitely, should be considered, in my opinion, as one of the higher tier guns. It's absolutely worth the money if you're looking for quality, ergonomics, accuracy, reliability, worth every penny. But to just your average, ordinary, everyday shooter, would I buy this? Absolutely not. Buy a direct impingement gun. Go for like the SIG M400, a Smith & Wesson M&P 15, a Colt 6920. Go for something cheaper. The piston system for military and law enforcement application, I can definitely see the benefits. For a civilian shooter, probably not. Now, I downsized my collection rather substantially, and I wanted to decrease quantity, increase quality. Hence why I got the 5.16. I know for a fact this gun is going to outlive me, just because of the simple fact is the way it's built. But for average, ordinary shooters, I would not buy this rifle. That's my takeaway from this. For just your average, ordinary, everyday shooter, I wouldn't buy this rifle because you'll never shoot even a direct impingement rifle enough to kill it. Even something like the Chinese Norenkos or the Dominion arms, most people will not shoot those guns enough to kill them. So, my opinion on that, while yes, I personally feel it's worth the money, I think it's a great, awesome gun. And if you can afford one, absolutely, 100% buy one. But if you can't, I would not recommend saving up for one and then buying one. I would recommend buying a middle-end AR-15 and then just put the money into it that you want to. That's the takeaway from this. Anyway, this is the Sig Sauer 5.16 Patrol, 16-inch model, flat dark earth. It's an absolutely phenomenal firearm for what it is, and I absolutely love it. Thanks everybody for watching, and I will see you all next time.